Good morning, my YouTube viewers. It is Palestine here. Welcome to my channel. I've got so many things that I would like to talk about, but I can only talk about one thing video at a time. So what I want to talk about in this video is about my friends on PIP. PIP is Personal Independence Payment. And so if you have a health condition, i.e. a mental illness or a mobility problem, then you can apply for PIP and get it. So I applied for PIP because the UK government tells me that I am mentally ill and I have lots of health problems. I had cancer and I'm on hormone therapy for the cancer, and then I'm on the hormone therapy means that I have osteopenia, so if I fall I will break a bone, and I'm on vitamin D for the osteopenia. I have diabetes, so I'm on 3 diabetic medications for diabetes. I have high blood pressure, so I'm on diabetic medication for high blood pressure, and I have high triglycerides. I think they're triglycerides, and I'm on statins for high triglycerides. So I have a lot of drugs that I have to take every day just to stay alive, and that's in addition to the drugs that I have to take for my mental health because the UK government is telling me that I am mentally ill. So I applied for PIP because I'm rattling around my tiny little apartment like an 80-year-old woman, and my boyfriend can attest to that. He can attest to how hard it is for me to bend down and get something. He can attest to the fact that I'm rattling around my apartment like an 80-year-old woman. And then so I didn't get PIP. I applied for PIP. I had a telephone interview, and I received a letter that said I didn't get PIP, that I was judged on daily living and mobility, and I got 0 points for daily living and 0 points for mobility. So I didn't even bother to read their reasoning as to why I didn't get PIP, and I didn't even bother to appeal it, because I've heard, I don't know if it's true or not, but somebody who has schizophrenia told me that he had heard about people who had appealed a PIP decision and they lost all their benefits when they appealed it. So I don't know if it's true or not, and somebody who had schizophrenia told me, but I just decided I wasn't going to appeal it. And then I know somebody else that lives in my neighborhood, and I met him when I was going to this place called Your Way, and he messaged me privately, told me that he didn't get PIP either, that he applied for PIP and he didn't get PIP either. But so I didn't get PIP, and this guy that I think he's got PTSD, he didn't get PIP. But I want to tell you about the people that I know who do get PIP and what they spend their money on. And the reason for that is because a few days ago, I was walking home from my day job, and I was hungry because I've had to stop getting a Starbucks hot chocolate because that's $3.80, and I've had to stop getting a salad to share with my boyfriend because that was $3.75. I had to cut that out because when I calculated how much money I spend every month just to keep a roof over my head, which is in the range of £900 a month, and so you take the money that I have to spend just to keep a roof over my head, and that doesn't include food and clothing and medications and emergencies like a new air fryer and a new bed frame and presents for people, Christmas presents for people. I decided that I couldn't afford to get a Starbucks hot chocolate, and I couldn't afford to get a salad. So because I'm hungry, I do make myself a sandwich to take to work every day, and also take myself a sugar-free soft drink if I can remember to get a 6-pack. But I can only manage half of a sandwich because I have to have a sandwich every single day for my lunch and when I'm working. I'm not keen on sandwiches, so all I can get down is half a sandwich. I don't want the rest. So I normally give my boyfriend or somebody else the other half of the sandwich that I haven't eaten. So for a 3.5 hour period, really, it's more than 3.5 hours. It's more like 5 hours. For a 5 hour period, going with no food. So like at 8, I'll have a slice of toast for breakfast. And maybe 11, I'll have half a sandwich. So that's 3 hours. And then when I get off work, so when I get home, I'll get home by 2 o'clock. So that'll be another 3 hours. And then so I'm really hungry. So I was walking home from my day job because I walked to work. And I ran into one of my neighbors. Well, I can't really go to her house and see her because I'm busy. I'm busy working. I'm busy cleaning my house. I'm busy taking care of my boyfriend. I'm busy fixing dinner. I'm busy studying. I'm busy making videos. So I don't really get to go to her house, but that's okay because she has a mental illness, so she doesn't care anyway. And I saw her, and she was drinking at this tiny little pub. It's actually the size of a residential home. And she was drinking at this tiny little pub, and she called my name. And so I went over to speak to her. And then, so I spoke to her for a few minutes, but I was really hungry. And it is a tiny little pub. This pub is the size of it's a terrace house. It's a terrace house. And it's the size of a terrace house. So I don't know how they keep the place running. Really, I don't. Probably a money laundering operation. But she was sitting there having a beer. So I talked to her for a few minutes, and I said, I'm really sorry, I've got to go. I said, I haven't had anything to eat, and I'm really hungry. And the thing is when you're diabetic, you have to eat. It's not just a matter of, oh, I feel like being a pig, I think I'm going to eat. You have to eat because your body does not work the way it should. It does not push the insulin through. Well, because I'm type 2 diabetes, so I produce insulin, but my body doesn't use it correctly. And then so I have to take 3 diabetic drugs just to stay alive. And then so I just said, I'm really hungry. I'm sorry, I haven't eaten. I said, I can't not afford to eat anything at work, which is the truth. I said, I've got to go, sorry. But I did manage to get out of her that she's on PIP. So she's sitting there in this pub, which is probably a money laundering operation because I don't see how they can stay in business. It's a tiny little pub. I don't see how they can serve enough customers to keep the place running. So that's what she spends her money on. She's getting PIP. She's younger than me and she's healthier than me. I don't think she's had cancer. But she's told me that her mother had cancer and died from it. Her mother had breast cancer and died from it. So she does sympathize with me because she knows that I've got breast cancer. I had breast cancer. And then so this is what she spends her PIP on. Beer at that pub. Cigarettes, roll your own. And then she uses recreational drugs that she goes and gets. And then so she uses that. That's what she spends her PIP on. So she gets PIP and I don't. And what I was going to spend my PIP on was I was going to pay my boyfriend to clean my house, clean my flat. That's what I was going to spend my PIP on, to pay him to clean my flat. And then pay for somebody's transport. But I didn't get that. So I was planning on spending my PIP on something reasonable, and she's spending her PIP on alcohol, cigarettes, and recreational drugs. There's nothing wrong with her walking. She walks fine. The only thing that's wrong with her is she's got bipolar disorder. Well, the UK government is telling me that I have schizoaffective disorder. And so schizoaffective disorder is when you have schizophrenia and bipolar at the same time. So how come she's just got bipolar disorder and she's getting PIP, and the UK government is telling me that I have schizophrenia and bipolar? So she's the first person that I can tell you about that's on PIP and spends it in ways that you shouldn't. And then the second person I know of who gets PIP, she lives in supported accommodation. And she has schizophrenia, paranoid schizophrenia, that does not respond to treatment. So she has to take clozapine along with a lot of other drugs. And so she takes clozapine, and clozapine is a very dangerous drug. If you take clozapine, you have to go to the local mental hospital every month and have your blood tested, because you can get a blood disease from clozapine. That's just what a dangerous drug it is. So they generally give clozapine to people who have untreatable schizophrenia, who they've tried to treat schizophrenia with other drugs, but they haven't been able to. So she gets PIP. So she does have a mental illness. She is living in supported accommodation. She does have diabetes, like I have diabetes, type 2. And she also was supposed to have her breast exam. And one of these idiots that she works with, who I think is a nurse, told her that she didn't have to do it. So she hasn't had her breast exam, even though she's diabetic, and high blood sugar will give you breast cancer. Some idiot support worker told her she didn't have to have a breast exam, so she's not having a breast exam. So if she gets breast cancer, well, obviously she's not going to know it because she's not going to be treated. And it will spread, and her life will be shortened. So she is mentally ill, and she gets PIP. I'm going to tell you what she spends her PIP on. She goes to restaurants. She buys alcohol and cigarettes for her friends. And I know this because when she had her PIP assessment, just like I did, she told the lady that she buys friends alcohol and cigarettes. And she told the lady that she walks all the time. And she was worried that she wasn't going to get PIP. And I said, well, you might not get it if you tell people that you're spending your PIP on alcohol and cigarettes and giving it to your friends. Because PIP is supposed to, it's personal independence payment. It's supposed to keep you, help you be independent. So you're supposed to spend it on to be independent. So she does take taxis. So she's going to restaurants and eating in restaurants, which she certainly doesn't need. She's bigger than I am. And she's not as tall as me, but she's definitely more rotund than I am. And then she buys alcohol and cigarettes and gives them to her friends. And she also has two individuals, a minimum of two individuals, who are exploiting her financially. And so she gives them money. That's what she's spending her PIP on. But I don't get PIP. When I just wanted to pay my boyfriend to clean my house and pay for people's bus tickets. I know another person who gets PIP. Again, she's mentally ill. And last I heard, she has emotionally unstable personality disorder. But if they could have changed her diagnosis and not told me. Now, she has harmed herself quite a bit. And because she's harmed herself quite a bit, she's been sectioned, well, 2 times, and then sent to the local mental hospital an additional time because she's harmed herself at least 2 times that I know of. So now she's in a really bad state. She's like drugged up to the eyeballs. And she has to have a nurse come administer her medication to her in the morning and in the evening. She has to have somebody cook her meals for her, and she has to have somebody clean her house. And so she gets PIP. And in addition to getting the PIP, she also has on her bus pass that she gets a companion on her bus pass. And I don't get a companion on my bus pass. So she spends her PIP on cigarettes because she smokes. And she spends her PIP on taking the train, going to see her family. I don't get to do that. I don't get to take a train. It's a really big financial burden on me to take a train. And then so, but she is mentally ill. But there's nothing wrong with her mobility. Her mobility is fine. She can walk fine. Her problem is mental. And she gets PIP. So I've talked about 3 people. I know this one lady that I met her at the Depression Expression support group, and she gets PIP. She is walking with a stick now, and she is in pretty poor shape, and she has chronic depression, that chronic untreatable depression. And so she was going to these Depression Expression coffee mornings because of that. And she is walking with a stick now, but she wasn't when I first met her. And her neck goes down, so there's something wrong with her neck. And so basically, she's getting PIP. And she's going to restaurants. She's going to Weatherspoon's restaurants. She's having big parties at her house and going on holiday and stuff like that. I don't get to do that. I don't get to go to Weatherspoon's unless it's a special occasion. I don't get to have a party because my flat is too small to have a party. I can only fit 3 people in my flat, max. And then I definitely, don't get to buy anything else. I'm just flat broke. I'm pretty much on the breadline. So that's number 4. And then so I know this one guy, he's not my friend anymore because he's an alcoholic. And he was on PIP. Now this guy's an alcoholic. He's a serious alcoholic. And he's on PIP because of his depression and because of the fact he has a bad heart. And he has cardiovascular problems, and I think he's had a stent put in one of the veins or one of the arteries. So he gets PIP, and you know what he spends his PIP on? Booze. That's what he spends it on, booze. And he's an alcoholic. He is an alcoholic. I mean, last Christmas, he spent Christmas with us. Last Christmas, he was saying he didn't know where the Broad Street Mall was when he was living on Oxford Road, and Broad Street Mall is on Oxford Road, and he was saying he didn't know where it was. I mean, it's just laughable, really. And so I've given you a list of 5 people that I know that are on PIP, and they're not spending their money on taxis. Well, one is. Well, 2 spends their money on taxis and trains. But they're spending their money on booze, cigarettes, recreational drugs, and they're able to go on holidays. I can't go on a holiday. They're able to go to restaurants. I can't go to a restaurant unless it's a special occasion. And so it's just ridiculous. And that's why I wanted to make this video about all my friends who are on PIP. But I don't get PIP. I have a legitimate health problem. I don't have any estrogen in my body. And I'm rattling around like an 80-year-old woman. But because I'm able to walk to work and I'm able to go to work, they won't give me PIP. But I only get, just for me to have a roof over my head. And that's not including food and clothes and medications and emergencies like a new bed frame or a new air fryer or a new rice cooker or Christmas presents for people. So I've got to come up with all that money myself. And all these people on PIP, they're getting universal credit with the health element of universal credit. So if it's the health element of universal credit, you get given more money. And then they get PIP on top of that. So they're getting like about 800 pounds a month to do nothing. They're getting 800 pounds a month to buy cigarettes, to buy booze, to buy alcohol, to go on holidays, to eat at restaurants. I don't get any of that. These people on universal credit and PIP are getting about 500 or 600 pounds a month more than I am getting. And so that's why I wanted to make this video. I'm on the bread line. I'm on the bread line. And so that's why I wanted to make this video. So I'm going to go ahead and conclude the video because I've told you about my friends on PIP. And that's what I wanted to make the video about. So I'm sure Reform says they want to do away from PIP. So do away with PIP. So I'm sure if Reform Party sees this video, they're going to use it as justification for taking PIP away. But I can't do anything about that. The only thing that I can do is I can say that, the only thing I can do is I can say that these people who I know who are on PIP, who are not using the money the way it's supposed to be used, and I'm not being given PIP, and I was going to use the money the way it was supposed to be used. So thank you so much for watching my video. If you like my video, please like and subscribe, and thank you for taking an interest in my very pathetic life.